Assalamu alaikum everyone, how are you doing? Inshallah you're keeping healthy, safe, happy. Inshallah today we're going to continue talking about Ramadan and fasting. So let's get started. Today we're going to talk about the meaning of Qadaa. What does it mean to make up fast? State the actions that do and do not nullify fasting. We're also going to state under which conditions we are not obliged to fast. So let's get started. First of all, types of fasting. There's obligatory fasting, meaning the fasting that we have to do. If we don't do it, we're sinful, and if we do it, we get rewarded. Sunnah fasting, recommended fasting, that if we do, we get rewarded. If we don't do it, we're not sinful. Reprehensible fasting, we'll talk about this in more details. The fasting that we should stay away from, and unlawful, when it becomes prohibited to fast. Okay, so let's start with the first one, obligatory, wajib. Obviously, first thing comes to mind is the fasting during Ramadan. This is obligatory upon anyone who the conditions apply to. When we reach the age of puberty and you are able to fast, then it becomes an obligation. Also, if you've missed some days during a previous Ramadan, it's an obligation on you to make up those days or to do Qadaa. Also, there is a type of kafara expiation where the kafara is fasting, and so this also becomes an obligatory fast. The last one, vowed nazr fast. What does this mean? This is a bit of a debate between scholars. Not all scholars would agree to this opinion, but one of the opinions is some people, they make like a promise, nazr, a promise to Allah. So for example, they say, okay, Allah, if you help me pass this exam, I promise you I'm going to fast 3 days, for example. Or if you help me get out of this problem, I promise you I'm going to fast a day or something like that. Now, some scholars say that this fast now has become an obligation on you. You have to do it. You said you would do it, then you have to do it. If, like for example, if the person does pass the exam or Allah does help them out of their problem, then now they have to perform that fast. And if you think about it, really, if you made a promise to Allah, you should keep it, generally speaking. Okay, and so these are the types of obligatory fasting, things that we have to fast. If we don't, then we're sinful. Second type, sunnah fasting. Now there are many times that the Prophet ﷺ recommended to fast outside of Ramadan. For example, in Muharram, we have Ashura, and we were recommended to either fast the 9th and 10th day, or the 10th and the 11th. Fasting 6 days of Shawwal, we know is very highly rewarded. The hadith Rasulullah said that if you finish Ramadan and you fast 6 of Shawwal, the scholars say that you will get the rewards as if you fasted for the whole year, because the hadith says it's as if you get the Siyam al-Dahr. And some scholars say the meaning of the hadith is actually as if you fasted for a lifetime, but most probably it means you get the rules of fasting a whole year if you fast Ramadan and the 6 days in 6 days in Shawwal. Also, the Prophet ﷺ used to fast on Mondays and Thursdays, so this is another type of sunnah fasting which is highly recommended. Also, they're fasting the 13th, 14th, 15th days of the lunar month. So each month there are 3 days that we can fast, which are sunnah and recommended: 13th, 14th, and 15th of each lunar month. There's also type of fasting, was a type of fasting of Dawood alayhi salam. And Rasulullah said about his fasting, the best type of fasting, he used to fast one day and not fast the next. So he'd be one day fasting, one day not, and so on. And then we have Siyam Yawm Arafah, the day before Eid al-Adha, and this is a highly recommended sunnah, and the reward of it, inshallah, if it's accepted, Allah will forgive the sins of the year previous to that day and a year coming after. So 2 years just for fasting one day, subhanAllah. Now let's go to prohibited fasting. So fasting that we shouldn't be doing: fasting the first day of Eid, Eid al-Fitr, and the days of Eid al-Adha, the 4 days of Eid al-Adha. We shouldn't be fasting those days either. It's Eid, it's a time of celebration, time of gatherings, a time of eating and drinking, and we shouldn't be fasting on those days. We are celebrating the blessing that Allah gave us. Also, we should stay away from fasting the last day of Sha'ban, just before Ramadan. We shouldn't fast on that day. And if someone is not usually fasting throughout, like for example, someone is making up fast during Sha'ban and they end up fasting almost right to the end, that's okay. But if they're not usually fasting and there's no specific reason for them to be fasting, they shouldn't fast the second half of the month of Sha'ban. So the second half of the month of Sha'ban is not a time for you to decide that, oh, I want to do all these extra sunnah fasts. So yeah, that's also something we should stay away from. Fasting, reprehensible fasting. Again, fasting that we shouldn't be doing. Fasting only on the 10th of Muharram Ashura. The reason being, Prophet recommended we fast a day before it or a day after it is because the Jews, they fast on the same day. And we don't want to be like resembling them, doing what they do. So that's why we want to be different from them. And because basically Ashura is, we fast that day as we're thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for saving Musa alayhi salam when he was being attacked by Pharaoh, and Allah saved him and he allowed him to cross the sea. And so with the Banu Israel. So this is we're giving thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this. But the Jews also have the tradition of fasting that day. So to be different from them, we shouldn't just fast that day. We should fast the day before it or a day after it. Fasting only on Fridays. Now, we have here fasting only on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Fridays is Eid for us. Saturdays and Sundays for Jews and Christians. They celebrate on different days. We shouldn't fast on those days. But that doesn't mean we can never fast on those days. It means that, for example, if someone is making up fast and so happens that they're fasting day on, day off, or they're making up fast in Ramadan and it happens to fall on a Saturday or Friday or Sunday, this isn't haram. They can do so. But if you just want to make extra days, for no specific reason, it's best to stay away from those days, especially if you're going to just be like, you're going to choose, like, for example, I'm going to say to yourself, from now on, I'm going to fast every Friday. No, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be choosing these days, specifically these days. Except those continue, as they're saying, fasting in those days or any other fasting the entire year. So someone came to Rasulullah and he said to him, I want to fast more. Fasting Ramadan is not enough for me. So Rasulullah told him fast Monday and Friday. So he said, I think he started with the 3 days of every lunar calendar, every lunar month, 13th, 14th, and 15th. So the man said, no, that's not enough. So Rasulullah said to him, okay, fast Monday and Thursday as well. The man said, no, I can do more. So Prophet said to him, okay, you can fast like Dawood alayhi salam. You fast one day and then you break the fast the next day. And Prophet said, and do not do any more than that. So fasting every day is not allowed. This is not the sunnah of the Prophet. Now, let's talk about Qadaa. Qadaa is when you are making something up, the general meaning of the word. And when you're making up Qadaa fasting, it means something has happened. You have missed the days that you should have done in Ramadan for some reason. It could have been intentional. It could have been by accident or for some reason that you had to break your fast. Either way, these days have to be made up. You have to think of fasting as a type of debt. It's a very dangerous thing that we don't want to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when we have this debt on our heads. So if you have days that you've missed in Ramadan for any reason, you have to make sure that these days are made up. Now, when do we make up Qadaa? So let's say, for example, this is Ramadan and you've missed a day on Ramadan. When do you make it up? After Ramadan finishes, any day you can make it up, and you should make it up before the following Ramadan comes. So you have pretty much a whole year. You need to make it up anytime during that year before the following Ramadan. Try to stay away from the days, like for example, that unless you're running out of time, but try not to be fasting on a Friday or just choosing to fast on a Saturday or just choosing to fast on a Sunday. Try to do it on other days if possible. And we will talk a bit when did this happen. We'll talk more in details in a minute. Also, there's a type of fasting which is expiation or kafara. Meaning you've done a sin, you've done something bad, and the way to make up for this sin, or the kafara for this. So as you're saying, another type is when you're doing a kafara, so you've done something wrong, and because of that, you have to fast. Now, as we know, when we're fasting, we shouldn't be eating or drinking, and there shouldn't be any relationships, sexual relationships between husband and wife. Now, if that happens during the day of Ramadan, their fasting has been destroyed, and the kafara is fasting 2 lunar months, which is around 60 days. So just to make up for this huge sin of doing that during the day of Ramadan, they have to fast 60 days plus 1 day of the day they missed. So some people, they refer to this fasting as the 61-day fast. So this is something to keep in mind. That the thing is, Ramadan is such a sacred thing. We need to be very careful of our actions during our fasting, and this huge, and by the way, with the 60 days, let's go back in a minute. Just go for the 60 days. If, like, for example, the kafar is that the person has to fast for 60 days. If they, for example, they fasted 10 days and then they missed the 11th day, they have to go and count from the beginning again. So this is a huge thing. Basically, making sure that no one falls into this sin. Now, actions that nullify the fast. What are the things that can mess up our fast? For example, the easiest thing that comes to our mind: if you eat or drink before the time of sunset, our fast is going to be nullified. For these types of things that, like if someone eats or drinks, do they have to do 60 days as well? No, but it's a big sin, and they're going to have to make up that fast for the day that they missed after Ramadan. Or for example, they just didn't fast for some reason, like they were lazy or they missed a day for no reason. They're going to have to make it up. It's going to be like a debt, as we said. So here's a list of things: eating or drinking deliberately, ingesting something, even if it's not food necessarily, but it's going through the nose or the mouth. I think they say here, I'm not really sure how that would happen anyway, to be honest, or genitals. Deliberately vomiting, so people making themselves vomit on purpose. Sexual intercourse, we talked about that. That definitely nullifies a fast. I know you guys might be a little bit embarrassed, but you're by yourself now, so we can talk about this more freely. Ejaculation because of lustful thinking or looking. So if you're having these thoughts, you're watching something, or you're thinking about something, you're listening to something, and I hope you're not doing this anyway, but you're in a relationship that you shouldn't be in, and or you're having these lustful ideas or something like that, and if fluids comes out of you, then this can end up nullifying your fast. Now, for women, we go through times of the month where we're on our menstruation, and we cannot pray and we cannot fast as well. Also, after childbirth, there's a time where women also they are bleeding at this time, and again, they shouldn't be fasting or praying. Now, losing consciousness by fainting, getting drunk, or losing mind. So this isn't done on purpose. If someone faints, if they drink, obviously, they're drinking alcohol, then this is something done on purpose. If someone loses their mind for any reason, they're not aware of their actions anymore, then this will nullify their fast. Converting out of Islam is a given. So anything you do, like if you're fasting or you're praying and you do not believe in Allah, or you're just doing it from the outside and you're not believing in what you're doing, then it's not going to be accepted. It's not going to count. Now, as we said before, it's written here, the fasts that weren't done or unperformed in the month of Ramadan, they should be made up before the next month. And if you if you delay, like for example, okay, Ramadan's finished, you have 5 days that you haven't done for any reason, whether it was intentional or unintentional, and you don't do it, and the next Ramadan comes and you haven't done them, then this is a problem. This is now become sinful, and not only should you make up the days you missed, but you should also pay a fidya. Fidya meaning it's a monetary compensation for each day that you missed. Basically, you should be given out an amount of food, the normal amount of food that like a person would eat, like maybe 2 meals a person would normally eat in the day. You should give it out as charity for each day that you missed. It says here something, if someone makes up his or her missed fast 10 years later, he should pay fidya for 10 years. This, to be honest, I'm not sure, it doesn't really make sense to me. I believe that maybe the wording is wrong, but what it means, like for example, if you have days that you haven't fasted for 10 years, like it was 10 years ago and you haven't fasted them, then you should be making up for those days and paying fidya for those days. But actually to pay fidya for 10 years, maybe some scholars say this, but I do not believe that all scholars would say that. It also depends on the circumstances, why the person missed or didn't make up those fasts all of that time. Now, if you have an excuse, there's a reason that you weren't able to make up your fast, then you can delay your, like for example, a lady was pregnant. So while she's pregnant, she wasn't fasting because it was difficult for her and the baby. And after she gave birth, then she's breastfeeding. And maybe she's missed 2 or 3 Ramadans because of it, because during breastfeeding, not all women are able to fast. Then it's not her fault because she had an excuse, even though we're talking about. But as soon as the excuse goes, then she should try and make up those days. And you don't have to do fidya for it. It wasn't her fault. Now, what are things that we shouldn't be doing while we're fasting? Not necessarily that it's going to nullify your fast, but it's things that we shouldn't be doing. Fighting with others, top of the list. The Prophet said that if someone, like while you're fasting, if someone tries to attack you or tries to say something bad to you, you should stay away, or tries to argue with you, and you should say, Allahumma inni sa'im, Allahumma inni sa'im, Allahumma inni sa'im, Ya Rab, I am fast. Tell the person I am fasting, like stay away from me, I don't want to get into this now. Delaying of the fast breaking after sunset. So as soon as sunset comes and you hear the adhan of Maghrib, we should always make sure that we hasten to break our fast. Fasting, tasting food without swallowing it. So, some people have to, but we should, if we can, we should avoid it. Like, someone's cooking in a restaurant or cooking at home and they want to taste the food. Some scholars have allowed it, just like on the tip of your tongue, but it's best if you can avoid it, to avoid it. Giving blood, not recommended, could affect you badly, could cause you to faint and lose your fast. Kissing and hugging isn't necessarily prohibited during fasting, as long as there's no it's not going to lead to something else and it's not done with a lustful desire. But again, we should be careful. It says here having a shower or bathing. Now I know this is one school of thought, but scholars in general have said it's okay. You can have water on your body and shower, and there's no problem with that. So this is an opinion, but it's not the majority opinion. Toothpaste, he says he's using a toothstick or miswak afternoon. We can wash our teeth when we fast. We can. And we can use toothpaste, but we should be careful that we shouldn't be exaggerating it so it doesn't go, we don't end up swallowing it. And when we're making wudu, even when we're washing our mouth, we should be careful that we don't swallow the water. Smelling something nice and lining eyes with kohl. This again is not a majority opinion. Maybe some scholars say this, but not all scholars. And as far as I know, that it is okay. I guess I'll just go back here a minute. I guess the general idea is when we're fasting, we're trying to connect with Allah. You're not eating, you're not drinking, you stay away from your bodily desires. You're trying to lift up above all of that and connect your soul with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the idea of you shouldn't be like I guess what they're saying is that you shouldn't be like indulging yourself. Like if you're spending your days with makeup on and perfume, and I guess that's where they're coming from, but I wouldn't go as far to say that it's prohibited. None of these things are prohibited, by the way. They're just saying reprehensible, like things that you should avoid. Actions that do not nullify the fast If you eat a drink, you forget, you don't realize what you're doing, eat and drink. This is not sinful. Prophet ﷺ said, whoever eats and drinks while they're fasting due to forgetfulness, you should complete your fast. Allah made him eat or drink. So this is okay. But when you remember, stop it, go wash your mouth and continue. Obviously, if you remember and then you trick yourself, you're not tricking anyone because Allah knows. So if you remember and you continue anyway, then you've nullified your fast. Is it like, for example, if you, sorry guys, this shouldn't be as long as the previous ones, but if you are eating suhoor and something very small left in your mouth and after suhoor is not done on purpose, hopefully swallow won't be a problem. If you are threatened, so someone says to you, okay, if you don't break your fast now, and this has happened unfortunately in places in China, if you don't break your fast, they force you to eat and drink. If you don't, you'll end up going to prison or killed or something like that. You can break your fast, Allah knows. Swallowing your saliva is no problem. Smoke or dust gets into your mouth. Having a wet dream. Okay, again, if you're sleeping and fluid comes out from you, you're having these dreams or anything, it's not done on purpose. This won't break your fast. Bathing, as we said. So before they say, okay, you should stay away from showers and bathing, but it's not haram. You can. Eye drops, tooth extraction, involuntary vomiting. So if you vomit and you don't do it on purpose, it doesn't break your fast. Toothbrush and toothpaste is okay. Just we need to be careful. Giving blood, having an injection. So again, they wrote here giving blood. It doesn't nullify your fast, but it's reprehensible. Like in the page before, they said it was reprehensible. And giving blood, number 4. But it doesn't mean that your fast doesn't count. Now, just see. Okay, what are the things that, under what conditions are we not obliged to fast? We don't have to fast. If we're traveling, we don't have to. If it's a short distance and we're very comfortable traveling, it's not a big deal for us. It's not too far away. We can, but we don't have to. And Allah likes it that we take He likes in Allah and if Allah gives us an excuse out of something, He likes us to take that because it's a valid excuse. If we're sick and a doctor has told us, okay, you shouldn't fast because if you fast, it's going to affect your health, then we shouldn't. And if we know 100% certain that it's going to affect our health, then if we do fast, then it's a sin. So being sick is an excuse. Old age, people reach a certain age, they are not able to fast, and they will never be able to fast again. Then instead of fasting, they should be paying fidya for each day that they could not fast. Breastfeeding, if you're breastfeeding, you don't have to fast, or you're pregnant and it's going to affect the baby in some, or affect yourself, then you don't have to fast. The times where we cannot fast, menstruation after our periods or after giving birth. These days, well, there's a time a woman goes through when she's bleeding after birth, then again, she shouldn't be fasting. Fighting with the enemy. If you're in a time of war and you feel like this is going to affect you and you're not going to be able to fight properly, then she'll be fasting. Under compulsion or threat, as we said, if someone is threatened with their life or they're going to be severely wounded or harmed, if they fast, then they do not have to. Now, the last one says extreme hunger or thirst. So this has to be very, we have to be very careful with this one because people could take it to like they're never fasting. Like, for example, someone's working in very difficult conditions in a factory, in a very difficult condition, then they're just gonna always miss their fast. It's not like that. First of all, they should try to fast. Every single day they should try to fast. If while they're doing what they're doing, their health is threatened somehow, they're going to faint, or they're going to be severely impacted, then they can break their fast. But we should be very careful with this. Not like someone's they're just like, I'm just so hungry, I'm just so thirsty, I don't want to fast anymore. No, it's not that easy. And if it's going to harm you, keeping on fasting, that's a different story. But not just because you feeling very hungry, feeling very, very thirsty, that you can just break your fast. I won't, I was going to do one more page, but I won't continue now I don't want to give you too much. Inshallah, we will carry on next week. Thank you very much for joining me today, and Assalamu alaikum. Have a good day, and may Allah bless you all.